fly without him. Too long.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Commissioner. Oh, he's just,
He's here.
wow.
He's here.
I told you I'd be here. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, I understand that we have some guests with us here today that I would like to recognize. Candace, if you could come forward and introduce our guests.
Candace Mearpool, Shawnee County Extension Office. Thank you so much for letting us be here today because it is Shawnee County Fair Week. And we have already started. We had the horse show last weekend, clothing judging, photography judging, but we're going to go all week. And so I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the Shawnee County Fair King and Queen, Derek Stahl and Gwen Van Leeuwen. And they're going to tell you what they've been doing to prepare for this fair, as well as some of details about things you can come enjoy.
So hi everyone, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to talk to you about the Shawnee County Fair. So the Shawnee County Fair is a family-friendly event that's going to take place this week at Landon Arena at the Stormont Vale Events Center. It's open to the public Thursday, July 22nd through Sunday, July 25th. And I would like to invite all of you to come see all the different 4-H projects that the youth of Shawnee County have on display, which are rockets, geology, crafts, knitting, and then you can also take a tour of the livestock barn and see the steers, goats, sheep, chickens, and pigs. And anyone in the Shawnee County can enter into the open class division, so you can do a bread sculpture, photography, art piece, or even a knitted piece. And also, if you bring the largest tomato or zucchini, you can even win a cash prize. On Saturday, you can also enjoy the pancake feed at Heritage Hall, the pedal tractor pull, the exhibit shows, and if you're up to the challenge, sign up for the hot pickle eating contest. Then on Sunday, before the fashion review, we will announce the brand new 2021 Shawnee County Fair 4-H King and Queen. And as the 2020 Queen, I really enjoyed promoting 4-H and meeting new people and organizations. It has been a wonderful experience, and it has really helped me grow and learn as a person. And I want to thank you all for your support, and I hope to see you at the Shawnee County Fair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Derek Stahl, and I am the Shawnee County Fair King. So I'll be talking a little bit more about the livestock side and then the judging process for the newly selected King and Queen this year. So for livestock, we'll be showing sheep and goats and beef on Friday, and then on Saturday we'll be selling all of those animals that evening. And then there'll be a dinner after the sale and a family fun night that everyone can attend. For the new process of selecting these new King-Queen candidates, they underwent a interview, application, resume process in front of 4 judges. This was last month, and so they've been selected, and on Sunday, as Gwen said, they will be selected in front of all of an audience ceremony. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well, before I let you guys go, a couple of questions. So let's start with, what club are you part of?
I am part of Riverside 4-H Club.
Okay.
I am part of the Indian Creek 4-H Club.
Okay. What high schools do you go to?
I go to Seaman High School. I'll be a senior.
And then I just graduated this last year, and I'll be attending Washburn in the fall.
Okay, very good. And last question, how long have you been in 4-H, and what was your favorite activity?
This is my 10th year in 4-H, and my favorite activity is cake decorating. So I'm going to make a cake this year for the fair.
All right.
This is my 12th and final year of 4-H, and my favorite project has been the GOAT project. I've been involved with it my whole 4-H career.
Great. Commissioners, questions?
No, congratulations to both of you.
You know,
Thank you.
as a 10-year 4-H attendee myself, I I know it's a great activity. It's a great opportunity for leadership development, and I know that we've been hard at work at our household, working on finishing up crafts and Lego projects and construction and everything else, so congratulations. I think they want us to have us do a picture with you, if that would be okay. All right, let's go ahead and go on up front. We get our king and queen in the center.
I'm so sorry. I kicked something up. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We do want to let everybody know that the fair is free to attend. Please do take some time to go out, see all the projects. Our young people have been hard at work, and there's also those open classes. So if you have a hidden talent that you want to show off, now's the time to bring it down to the Shawnee County Fair. Madam Clerk?
Our first item is, our second item is consent agenda, item 3.
4.
Consent agenda is 3.
Okay.
On yours it's 4?
Oh, there's 4 items.
Oh, I'm thinking I'm having a stroke, guys. I can't tell 3 from a 4 Roman numeral. Thanks. Don't pull those kind of things.
Any
on.
questions, or is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bill Rippon, second by Commissioner Aaron Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business, A County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have 2 voucher reports. The first one is from July 15th with vouchers totaling $1,408,665.19. Some highlights under that are under sales tax for HTK Architects for $22,233.76 is for the event center renovations, for the administration of that. Under 911 telephone to Motorola Solutions for $260,485.82 is for the annual service agreement for the radio communication system. Under local health to Vallejo for $18,318.48. It's for a health promotion specialist. And then under sewer districts to Burns and McDonnell for and CAS constructors for $129,627.50 is for the teacup replacement project. The second voucher report is from July 16th for $825,574.36. Highlights under that are under Family Park and Lake Shawnee for Santander leasing for $32,265.17. It's for the first lease payment for the golf course equipment. And then under sewer districts, Bartlett and West for $20,765.65 is for professional services for the Sherwood Regional Wastewater project. I don't have any questions about any of this. I would move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, Facilities Management, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-247-2021, amendment and execution of extension of contract C-78-2019 with Green Touch Lawn and Tree for 1 year for the mowing, fertilizing, and weed control at the Courthouse Health Department, which has 2 locations, and the Elections Office, which is mowing only, at an annual cost of $13,726 to be funded through the department operating budgets of each of these facilities.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nelda Henning, Director of the Department of Facilities Management. Just to clarify, this is a continuation. The only increase in the cost was in the chemical portion of the contract. The mowing costs have all remained the same, and I'm here to answer any questions.
When we had the budget presentation from the weed department a little over a week ago, one of the items that was brought forward was we should expect the cost of chemicals to go up due to a shortage of shippage coming from China. Is that something that we would see maybe reflected here?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the only comment that was made by the company was that they had a slight increase in chemicals, and you see it reflected.
Okay. So if this does not change, or if this is not addressed, when we do our or our contracts a year from now, we may see an increase in those costs.
You will probably see an increase again, yes.
Okay. Any questions regarding the contract? I'll move for its approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B2, consider approval of request to reclassify the building supervisor position to facilities manager, courthouse and county administration building at a salary including benefits of $84,763.78 with funding from the facilities management budget.
Nelda Henning, Director of Facilities Management. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays. Is there a second? All second. Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item C, solid waste. Number 1, consider approval of request to post and fill an account clerk 3 position and annual salary including benefits of $46,747.94 and to fill any subsequent position that becomes vacant as a result of filling this position.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. One of my office ladies, she's an account clerk 3. She took a promotion, and she actually got poached off me by the clerk's office. Thank you, Cindy. So we need to...
It was a considerable step up for her in more ways than one, that, you know. I didn't mean to say anything, Bill.
That's okay. You're my favoriteest county clerk. So coming before you to ask permission to post and fill that account clerk 3 position with the pay and benefits starting at $46,747.94 and to fill any subsequent position that may become vacant due to this position. This will be funded by our solid waste budget, which is 100% user fee funded with no taxpayer dollars used. Subject to your questions, gentlemen.
Any questions?
I'll move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item C2, consider approval of request to award bid of $33,683.14 to Furniture by William Webb for the purchase of 123 employee gear lockers with funding from the 2021 Solid Waste Collections operational budget.
Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. Last May 20th to be exact, I came in front of the commission seeking to go out for requests for quotations for some gear lockers for our employees. The current lockers that we have now are under an expiring rental contract, and they are woefully undersized. They're about 4 to 5 inches wide. So talking with Betty and other parties involved, we're seeking permission to actually purchase our own lockers. They're actually ventilated gear lockers that are appropriately sized. This will provide a secure and a sanitary way to basically house everybody's gear. Also will be taking care of the Public Works employees and a few sheriff's people, so I'll be go ahead and taking care of those. You can see the tabulation of bids on the back. Furniture by William Webb was the lowest and most responsive bidder that met all of our specifications. So the total request for this will be $33,683.14. Again, this will come from our operational budget, which is 100% user fee funded with no tax dollars used. Questions?
Questions?
Do these replace the old lockers?
These will actually get rid of all of our lockers that we have up there now.
Bill, I see there's a couple that were quite a bit less, but you said they didn't meet the specifications. What were they lacking exactly?
So the ones that did not meet our specifications were basically a closed style with a little louver, the 3 or 4 louvers on there that provide ventilation, kind of like
you
the
needed
school
the
lockers.
full-
Yes, we wanted the full
So they
ventilation,
can
open cable
air
style.
out?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Other questions?
I'll move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon,
Second.
second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Our next item.
Item D, County Councilor, number 1, consider to request to award bid and negotiate contract with Civic Source for online tax foreclosure sales services.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Krause, Shawnee County Councilor. One of the things that our office does, it's a big part of what we do every year, is we oversee the tax foreclosure sale process. And like everyone and everything, because of the last year, we're looking at how do we do this maybe in a different way that could be more efficient, to be better for the public and safer too. So we've looked into going to online tax sales. We received 3 really good proposals from 3 different companies that offer not just the online component, but also assistance in other areas of the process that could be helpful to our office. They were all very close in what they proposed. We're recommending Civic Source. They actually only charge $15 per parcel to put it online. These would be costs not borne by the taxpayers, but as court costs in each case as part of the normal sales process. And that's what we do anyway. We roll our administrative costs into the court costs into the case. Civic Source gets the edge from my standpoint. They already work in Kansas with another Kansas county. We've been able to talk to them. They have only good things to say about them, so we're very confident they can deliver the services that they say they can. And anyway, that's our recommendation. This would just authorize me to negotiate a contract with them. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Will this reduce your workload?
It should. I think if we time it in the way that we organize our tax sale, I think we're going to start out and just do a sale, and then we'll try different pieces that they offer and offline that, contract that out, so to speak. Again, those costs can be added to the administrative costs in the sale. But I know the other county that is using this has been able to address their large backlog in cases. So I'm hoping that we will be able to do the same and accelerate the process, caught back up with where we left off from last year, and then start actually moving ahead. That's the goal.
Jim, I know that the clerk's office usually limits us to 100 to 150 cases or parcels, and then we usually hold maybe 1 or a maximum of 2 sales per year. And so often a complaint from neighborhood associations is there may be abandoned property or property that's not maintained, has tax foreclosures of multiple years past what could be acted on, but due to the backlog, we weren't able to address it. Is this one of those things that we're looking to address?
Absolutely, and at times we've coordinated with the city of Topeka to find properties that would be great candidates for this process, and we do. The process is great for the community in that we can put properties that have been left vacant or dormant back into productive use into the community. So we're more than happy to work on that. We look forward to that. And we do believe this is going to allow us to accelerate the number of parcels by not adding more per case, but more cases per year.
Any other questions?
No, but, well, yes, actually. So, Jim, I'm happy to see this. I think it's a good step for us and for the public. I think that this opens the sales up to potentially more bidders, which could potentially drive the prices up a little bit. Maybe we can recoup some of that money back a little bit quicker. But I as excited as I am, there's one thing that concerns me is what if it doesn't work? So how long of a contract are we looking at? So,
well, we have the option of, this is a pay-as-you-use-it type of service. So we have the option to try it, and we can enter into a contract for, I'll have to negotiate the terms on that, but most service contracts like this, we do put a termination clause if we're not happy. But this is a pay-as-you-use-it. We'll use it for an online auction, see how it goes. We'll try having them do the title work, see how that works, and we'll only pay for the services that we receive. So I don't think we have a lot of risk on this one. And I can tell you, the other county that already uses this company, each time they've had an online auction, they've seen that more and more bidders from more places. This is a national company, so they have bidders from across the country that participate, and they receive notice of these auctions across the country. So it really does open up our possibilities for investment.
and I know that the terms of the contract aren't set yet or anything like that. So obviously, this is something that the details will get worked out. But when do we anticipate having our first tax sale?
Probably this fall.
Okay. And then after that, could we get some kind of a debriefing to
Absolutely.
figure out if it was a success or not?
Would be happy to.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I'll move for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D2, consider authorization and execution of contract C255-2021, a professional services agreement with Widow Bryan's LLC as a consultant for Shawnee County in regards to the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joni Thadani, Assistant County Counselor. In front of you is the contract with Widow Bryan's. As was mentioned, this is a contract for the American Rescue Plan Act that we had received the $34 million we were allocated $34 million just recently. Half of that has been received. This is going to be similar in scope to the coronavirus relief fund that we had received last year. We had entered into a contract with the same company, Widow Bryan's, a year ago. They helped us for a period of about 6 months before we entered into another extension contract with them for an additional 6 months. That contract ended July 1st. However, we have already been working with them prior to that in regards to the ARPA funds. We work with a man named Matthew Hansen, and he's located out of Arizona. We have a lot of contact with him over the phone, email, as well as do Microsoft Teams meetings. They've been very useful in terms of consulting and helping us determine how to use the money that we've received and ensure that we're using it in the proper method that's required by the U.S. Treasury. I will stand for any questions.
Not all communities are using consultants. What are some of the advantages, and why would Shawnee County benefit from having Widow Bryan's as our consultant?
The number one would be expertise. They have worked with emergency processes for many years in terms of disasters throughout the country. I do believe Hurricane Katrina was one of them, other hurricanes, other disaster relief. Of course, this started off with the pandemic, which here was a disaster relief, in essence, an emergency process last year. And then the funding that we've received now is no longer considered emergency funding. However, it's that same process of using federal dollars, and they have the expertise that we need to make sure that we're using it in a proper manner.
So if there were funds that were used and the federal government later at an audit determined that those were inappropriately used, what would be the penalties?
I don't know the penalties. That's why we use Widow Bryan's.
But I see.
That would be, so that it's exactly why we use Widow Bryan's, because they're able to help us with, in terms of the contract and directing us which way to go with the money, and then they give advice, and we as the Spark Committee review that.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. I can't answer that. If we were audited by the U.S. Treasury and they came in and they determined that any specific disbursements were not within the criteria, then we would have to pay that money back to the federal government at that time. And they would have already been expended, but the county would have to pay that back to the Treasury.
So this is more of an insurance policy, just as advisors to make sure that we're following all the guidelines.
Yes, and we will document that, because many times it may be 5 years after the end of the period before they come in to do an audit. So we are making sure we document everything as we go along, so that when or if they do come in, it's all documented and we have that information for them.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I will just say, though, that I think that 3 to 5 years down the road, there's going to be some other local governments that are going to be in trouble for misappropriating funds, and I think this is a good step to make sure that we're not one of those ones that get in trouble.
I agree. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item E, Public Works, number 1, consider approval of request to issue request for qualifications for on-call emergency wastewater collection system repair services.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. This August 31st, our present contract for emergency wastewater repair services comes to an end. Came out to be a 6-year contract with MCON. Through that contract, we built an emergency pump station, and we did a number of collection system repairs. So I would say the contract was a success. As such, we would like to continue on with another contract for the same type of services. And so I'm here before you asking permission to issue a request for qualifications for wastewater sewer repairs. Questions?
Any questions? No. I'll move for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item E2, consider approval of change order number 1, final to contract C211-2021 with Bettis Asphalt and Construction Company, Inc., reflecting final as-bid versus as-construction quantities, which results in a price decrease in the amount of $68,850.60 for a road maintenance project, mill and overlay South Topeka Boulevard.
Kearney House, Director of Public Works. I couldn't say it any better than the clerk just said it. We had an estimate for the project. The final cost came in below the estimate by almost $69,000. So the funds will be transferred back to Special Highway for use on the next project, whether it be road, culvert, etc. Look forward to your questions.
I think we all like seeing projects get done under budget and money's being reallocated to other projects. Are there any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the change order?
I'll move to approve. Second.
Motion to approve the change order by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item F, Parks and Recreation, number 1, consider approval of request for a project budget estimated at $134,055 for the men's restroom renovation at Lake Shawnee Girls Softball Complex, utilizing building maintenance 3R funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. Before you today we're asking your approval for the Lake Shawnee Girls Softball Complex restroom renovation. Right now, it's just the men's side that we're focusing on. We currently only have 1 toilet, 1 urinal, and we're increasing this by 3 toilets, 1 being ADA accessible, and 2 urinals with 2 sinks, and it will expand the size of the men's restroom to be equal with the women's restroom. Several years ago, we increased the size of the women's, but we didn't have the funding to do the men's side. As you realize, we should be starting the turf project over there in the next couple weeks, or finishing up on the multi-purpose field as we speak. And we're anticipating an increase in the number of tournaments as well as league play over on the girls' side. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon,
Second.
second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item F2, consider approval of request to fill the position of Parks Supervisor with a candidate at a salary, including benefits, of $73,098.30 with funding from the Departmental Budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeremy Myers, Parks and Recreation. We have an applicant with 20-plus years of progressive management and supervisory experience, and we'd like to offer this position to this applicant. We've worked with Audit Finance and our HR department, and now we are here for this next step.
Any questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item F3, consider approval of request to send 2 employees in October to attend the National Alliance of Youth Sports Congress in San Antonio for an opportunity to earn recertification as a certified youth sports administrator at a cost not to exceed $2,250 per person, utilizing the department's operating budget.
Again, good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby with Parks and Recreation. We normally send a couple of our sports staff that are certified youth sports administrators to this conference. As you're aware, the youth sports becomes bigger and bigger each year, along with becoming more competitive. And we try to send a couple of our staff each year to this conference to learn the national trends and safety and what to go over with the coaches as well as the players to ensure the best quality experience for the youth. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? I'll move for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you.
Again, thank you.
Our next item.
Item F4, consider approval of a quote for the replacement of a shade structure fabric from All-Inclusive Rec in the amount of $2,880, utilizing the Building Maintenance 3R Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Boyd, Parks and Recreation. We are seeking your approval of this quote. It has conditions and requirements that requires Commissioner approval to order the shade structure fabric. We've gotten 17 years out of it. We feel like we've got our money's worth out of it, and it's time to replace that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
John, can you tell us a little bit about the park and what its use is? And
that particular shade structure is for the quarter midget racetrack out there at South Center. I'm not sure the ages. I know it starts at like 6 up to 17, maybe 16 years old. They do gasoline engine motor racing out there for youth.
Okay. And then this you said the shade structure is 17 years old, and so
Correct.
this is a replacement of that shade structure.
Just the fabric. The frame seems to be in good shape, so we just want to go ahead and upgrade the fabric.
Go ahead.
Is this fabric left out there year-round, or you bring it in?
It has been left up year-round.
That's a pretty good life.
It really is.
Questions? Is there a motion? Oh, go ahead.
Is this the same brand that we had before?
It's the same manufacturer, I believe.
Okay, I was
Yes.
just saying, I think we should stick with the same manufacturer.
Yeah.
Can't get a real roof to last. that
Yeah,
long.
17 years is a long time, so I'll move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item F5, consider authorization and execution of contract C248-2021 with Shirley Construction for the renovation of the Kosover Tennis Center ADA restroom upgrade in Felker Park with $156,406.53 in funding from an awarded land and water conservation grant and $189,027.47 utilizing the department's building maintenance fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Director, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. As you know, this project has been going on for some time, and we're excited about the possibility of moving forward. We have met with Shirley Construction, and they tell us that once the contracts are approved, if they're approved, they could start almost immediately. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Tim, this is a project that, as you said, started quite a time ago. Last time that we took it up was in December of last year, where we were waiting on a grant to come in.
Correct.
And we have received the grant from the state of Kansas?
It came from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, so that's who we got the grant from, and yes, we did finally receive the grant.
Okay. And during that period of time, I know that there's been some changes to construction. Did the price of the project go up during that period of time?
The price did go up slightly. The cost of materials due to the pandemic have gone up, and the price went up just a little over $40,000 compared to what our original bid was.
Okay. And then do we still have that ability to fund the project within your budget?
We do.
Okay. Questions? How will this construction impact the tennis season, other programs that the Tennis Association has at Kosover?
Right. We're communicating pretty closely with Topeka Tennis Association, and we have their schedule. As a matter of fact, they were giving me information just a few minutes ago. But we'll bring our portable restroom trailer in so that it'll be available while the restroom is under renovation. So we think they'll be able to hold their, well, we know they'll be able to hold their events without any negative impact to what they have planned this season.
Mr. Keeshan, do you wish to address the commission? Or any other member of the Tennis Association?
Just want to say thank you for moving forward with this. We held our 81st Jayhawk tournament last month. We have memorial bricks for all the winners going back to the 30s. We also have memorial bricks. TTA is going to undertake moving that. We have entered into negotiations, and we're fairly far along with USD 501, whereby we will have $5,200 a year for 5 years to go towards renovation. So we think this is a good process for the partnership to go forward. And I have talked with Tim about, we have over 300 people coming for a league sectional in August, and probably 330, 340 in September. The portable restrooms, they tell us, will be there, so I think that we can go forward, and we thank you for the progress.
Okay. Any other questions for Tim or Mr. Keeshan? Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item F6, consider approval of request to award bid of $37,450 to Neal Painting and Special Coatings, Inc. for the painting of the pool basin at Midwest Health Aquatic Center in Family Park, with funding from the Capital Maintenance 3R Fund and authorization and execution of contract C-249-2021 for same.
Again, good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. If you recall, in March, we got your approval to go out for RFP for this project. We were hoping to get it in April, but the weather didn't cooperate, and we also had an event there early May that needed put a timeline to the project. So we're just asking to do this in once the season closes, and it actually works out pretty well because of basically it seals the stuff over the winter and doesn't allow the moisture and freezing in the cracks. So it actually is pretty beneficial that we could wait one more season. So be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Randy? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you again.
Our next item.
Item F7, consider approval of request to purchase a set of bleachers from Heartland Seating, Inc. to be placed in the Shawnee South Community Park at a cost of $12,504 through the Green Bush Purchasing Cooperative, with funding from the Building Maintenance 3R Fund and authorization and execution of contract C-250-2021 for same.
John Boyd, Parks and Recreation. Commissioners, we're requesting that you approve this contract. We are proposing to utilize the Green Bush Purchasing Cooperative to purchase bleachers to go under the new shade structure that you just approved.
Were the wooden benches more than 17 years old?
Considerably older, yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Any questions regarding this?
This is all aluminum or?
Correct.
In 10 row, is that what I'm reading?
Correct.
Okay.
The existing bleachers are very inadequate as far as ADA accessibility and railings and things like that, and these will all be to current standards.
And these all have the fencing around the back and
Yes.
sides? Okay. All right. No other questions?
Yeah. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item F8, consider approval of request to purchase a set of bleachers from Heartland Seating, Inc. to be placed at Felker Park Crossover Tennis Site in the amount of $2,483 with funding from the Building Maintenance 3R Fund and authorization and execution of contract C-251-2021 for same.
John Boyd, Parks and Rec. One last time for more bleachers. This goes over at Crossover. Same situation. The bleachers that are there have run their course, and we need to upgrade those. These are a smaller set for just patron viewing for one of the courts.
Questions?
Move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon,
Second.
second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item G, Information Technology, number 1, consider approval of request to send 2 employees in August to attend the 2021 GMIS Meets Conference in Orlando, focusing on information for the public sector at a cost not to exceed $5,000, utilizing the department's 2021 budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat Oblander with the Information Technology Department. This item is for out-of-state travel to Florida to attend the GMIS Meets Conference for 2021. GMIS is the Government Management Information Services Organization, which is an organization that brings together IT professionals that are engaged in governmental and public service sectors. That's a really good opportunity for our staff to get together with other professionals doing the same sorts of work, same sorts of jobs that we're doing, and to create some networking opportunities between those individuals. There are also a lot of really good sessions that will be covered that our 2 attendees will be attending that relate directly to items of interest for us right now. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Any questions for Pat regarding the conference? I'll move for approval. Second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next item.
Item H, Court Administration, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-252-2021 with Converge 1 for annual renewal of services to support the court's core network hardware, as well as the Cisco Email Security Inbound Essentials Bundle at a cost of $8,702.67 with funding from the 2021 departmental budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. As Betty said, this is a renewal of a support contract for our virtual machine hardware, our database hardware, and our SmartNet system.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item H2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-253-2021 with SHI International Corp. for annual renewal of services to maintain the operating systems of the web server, document management, development, and data storage systems at a cost of $3,094 with funding from the 2021 departmental budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. This quote is an annual renewal of maintenance services on one of our Linux systems that does serve as our web server and our document management server. This is a renewal of our annual system.
Any questions? I'll move for approval. Second. Second made by Commissioner Rippon, motion made by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item H3, consider authorization and execution of contract C-254-2021 with Converge 1 for annual renewal of support services for the data storage systems at a cost of $11,230.87 with funding from the 2021 departmental budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. This is another Linux system that we're requesting a renewal of our annual maintenance agreement on. You'll notice the cost is, I feel, is exceptionally high for a 1-year contract, but Dell is notoriously high for their service agreements, and this is state contract pricing.
Questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Madam Clerk, before we take up audit finance discussion of the capital improvement plan, if we could move a little bit out of order and take up item 5, the administrative communications. And that way, if there's anybody that wishes to address the commission, they would be able to do so, as I anticipate that our discussion of the CIP may be a little bit longer. So we could take that a little bit out of order.
It's going to be a long time for the CIP stuff?
It might.
I might not come if I'd known it could be really long.
Wow.
Okay. Item 5, administrative communications.
Is there anybody present, member of the public or department head, that wishes to address the commission on any item?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. On Friday, we received word from the National Commission on Correctional Healthcare that the Department of Corrections received full accreditation for their behavioral health care and medical health care services for the Department of Corrections. This is probably, I think, our fourth or fifth reaccreditation cycle. We've been accredited through the National Commission of Correctional Health Care since about 2004, 2005. NCCHC, the initials for that, they're the ones who set the national standards for correctional health care and behavioral health care. They set the highest level standards on which correctional health care is to be provided. This includes everything from daily sick calls, the confidentiality of inmate requests, to flu shots, COVID shots, health care both on-site and off-site, and behavioral health care. That at the very beginning with the changing of the healthcare standards, there was some initial work that had to be done with the oral care that basically provided that the department cannot just provide extractions, that we have to provide much more or many more services besides that, which we are doing, which includes fillings and or health care or follow-up care when it comes to that kind of thing. No, does that mean somebody, if they wanted braces, they would get braces? The answer is no. But when it comes to something that is prescribed and adequately needed by a physician, we will provide it. This is good news. This is great news that correctional health care is extreme challenge. It's extreme expensive. But we're very proud, and I wanted to make sure that announcement was made public. And to the commissioners, thank you again for your support, being able to finance this initiative, and I'd stand for any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Any other administrative communications from any department heads or members of the public? Commissioner Rippon.
Well, Saturday I went out with a group. It's the Bring Back the Boulevard committee, and we were doing brush removal on South Topeka Boulevard. Got an area cleaned up. They've been going out there about every other week and doing some cleanup. They're making very good progress.
Good.
Also, I attended an event out at Gage Park. It was the Topeka Independent Living Resource Center, this is the 31st anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they're recognizing Parks and Recreation for all their work they've done in parks, and in particularly Gage Park. So I will give this to the Park Department later on. So.
Very good. Congratulations to the Parks Department. Commissioner Mays?
Nothing from me.
On Saturday, we did the dedication of Breezeway Park in No-Tow, and if you have the opportunity, I would encourage you to go down and see the 16-foot giraffe. There's also an opportunity to name the giraffe. If you go to some of the shops and businesses in No-Tow, you can submit your name and suggestion and look forward to it. Also, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, it's my understanding that we have the annual Chamber of Commerce meeting at Evergy Plaza beginning at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So look forward to seeing as many people out there as possible. Those are the all administrative communications we have. I see that it is just about 9:48 now, and not to get us into our standing around moment let's take a 5-minute recess and then resume back at 9:55. We're in recess. All right, we are back from recess, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to stretch and get ready for the rousing and exciting capital improvement for 2021.
That's a big
22.
Jennifer Sauer, Deputy Financial Administrator.
Better have Madam Clerk, our item.
Item I, Audit Finance. Number 1, discussions of capital improvement plan with continuation on July 22nd.
Jennifer Sauer, Deputy Financial Administrator. So I'm here today to discuss, or to start the discussion at least, about the 2022 capital improvement projects that were submitted this year. Those projects are for a 5-year period, so they would cover 2022 through 2026. They're defined as 5-year projects with a value of over $50,000. I have a couple slides here for you today that just kind of summarize the requests as they came in this year. And then we would suggest maybe we start tackling this like we have in years past, where the first few slides will be for the kind of specialty funds or the non-cap outlay funds that departments have that are specific to those departments, and we can kind of make decisions based on that if you guys would be open to that.
Yes.
Okay, so the first slide just kind of summarizes that by fund, we have, as you can see, our top two items are new debt or COPs and cap outlay. We have many millions of dollars worth of requests over the next 5 years. Public Works is another large one. Most of theirs are funded through special funds that they have in their department, as well as some federal money that they get that comes into their department. So then going to the department requests, you see this one actually has dollar amounts on it. So we have $42 million in requests from Parks and Rec, $37 million from Public Works, $28 million from DOC, and then it drops down quite a bit to $7 million from Solid Waste, $3 million from Sheriff and Facilities, a couple million from District Courts, and then smaller amounts from some of the other departments. So this is just kind of informational to kind of let you see in a single picture where we're coming from this year. So the first fund we have that has some requests is, oh, I should also tell you, I'm sorry. I have asked the departments to each have a representative here, so if you guys have questions regarding theirs, I think all the departments kind of went over this during their budget hearings, but if you have specific questions, they should be here to answer them. Solid Waste Fund would be the first one. For 2022, they are requesting $1,023,856,000 worth of CIP projects. And that would be for 4 projects this year, which would be the rear loaders, the roll-off, the supervisor's truck, and the grapple roll-off container. So, did you guys have any questions or have any discussion on this group?
Jennifer, if we could talk about the Solid Waste Fund for just a moment. The Solid Waste is an enterprise fund, which means it's not Shawnee County taxpayer supported. It's supported by the users. So would their expenditures of these equipment also come from that same fund?
Absolutely. This would all come from the Solid Waste Fund, which is supported by the revenue that comes into that fund.
Okay. So again, it would be within their budget to operate and operate it as a business.
Absolutely. This is our enterprise fund in Shawnee County.
Okay. Are there questions regarding the 4 items that are listed for projects for 2022? And again, we did go over this during our budget presentation, so we've heard it at least once already. So, all right.
Did you want to approve these or wait to the end?
Let's go ahead and if we could approve them as we go, and that way we can start finalizing. This is a process towards finalization of the 2022 budget. Yep.
Absolutely. Sorry. Repeating from my oh-so-wise boss. She would suggest that we would approve each fund individually, and then at the end, we will do one large approval of all of the capital outlay.
I'll make a motion to approve the solid waste fund request.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item, or next fund.
The next fund is very large. It is the Public Works Funds. This is actually made up of multiple funds that we have grouped here for you. The first section is the Special Highway, Special Bridge, and Special Machinery Funds. The next section is Infrastructure Funds, and then the last section is the county's sales tax. So for these, there are several projects. I have a couple of them highlighted here in yellow. These items are actually split funded, where some of this project is funded through the Special Highway, Bridge, and Machinery Fund, and then some of it is also funded with cap outlay funds. So we just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that before you do anything with those items, just so that you understand what is happening with those. The first two would be the motor grader refresh, where it is split funded $30,000 out of just this fund, and then the tractor refresh, which is funded $110,000 out of this fund.
Questions regarding the Public Works Fund? Kurt, do you want to talk about the 3 different funds that you're drawing from, or what your plan is, again, just to kind of touch on briefly?
Sure. Courtney House, Director of Public Works. In general, all of our projects will be funded via sales tax or special highway or special bridge. Our CIP that covers equipment would be funded with 2 funds, approximately half with special machinery and half, $300,000, proposed for capital outlay. And so real briefly, that's kind of how these CIP items are funded.
Okay.
And then obviously, as Jennifer said, we get a little bit of money from KDOT, and that really covers everything, unless I've forgotten something.
Questions for Kurt? Questions about the equipment or the projects?
My only question, are we just talking about the machinery fund right now? Or do you want to take each of these one at a time?
Well, I mean, we can, why don't we talk about the items, and then we could approve it as a whole, or...
Okay. So, well, my question was under the infrastructure fund on the Southeast 45th. We had talked about potentially delaying that a year. If we were to do that, with the $115,000, I assume that's for utility relocation and engineering.
Design.
Is that something that needs to be delayed? Can we do that and then perhaps delay the actual construction?
Yeah.
Or-
Obviously, right now, what we're planning to do is we're planning to do the second phase of Southeast 45th Street, not in 2022, but in 2023. We have some, I think, expenses in 2022 because we have to prepare plans to let the project for construction in 2023. If we should delay that project, that money just moves to the right a little bit.
Okay.
Nothing's lost. The money doesn't go away. Worst case, we spend it on something else.
Right. Okay, great.
Commissioner Rippon, any questions?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion regarding the Public Works Fund?
I'll move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next fund.
Our next fund is the Sherwood Wastewater District Fund. This fund is funded by user fees in the Sherwood Wastewater District. everything that is listed here is continuations of, or are continuations of items that were started in 2021, but 2022 was the year that they expected to have these expenditures. So this is all part of the large rehabilitation and teacup unit, and I'm probably butchering this project that they have that was funded through a KDHE loan to the water district.
And again, these are supported by the users of the Sherwood wastewater system and not Shawnee County taxpayers.
Absolutely, yes.
Questions regarding the Sherwood wastewater district fund?
After the 2022 year, will that about catch us up with all the projects out there, or?
The only thing left that's not listed there is any money we have left over from these projects, we want to spend on upgrading the treatment plant. And because we are not to the point yet where we know how much these listed projects will cost, except for the teacup, which is almost complete. Once we know how much money we have, then the treatment plant upgrade will appear in our 5-year plan. So we intend to use the full $7 million of the KDHE loan, unless funds from another source come along, but I don't anticipate that.
Any other questions?
That's all I have.
I'll move to approve the Sherwood wastewater district fund as presented.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Like that it passes 3-0. Our next fund.
The next fund would be the Noxious Weed Equipment Fund. They have one project in this fund, and it is actually a equipment refresh is what this project is called. A lot of their individual items are actually less than $50,000, but their equipment needs as a whole are over $50,000. So we thought it was prudent to just list one item here so that the commissioners would have a good idea of when the equipment will be coming up needing to be refreshed. So there's one item for this year for $27,000 that would be included on this.
Any questions regarding the weed department's equipment for $27,000 for 2022?
No, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next fund.
We have one item that, again, has been on here for a little while, and that is, this is the Land Records Fund. We have a vehicle that is being, or vehicles that are being leased through the Enterprise Leasing Program. The costs are $24,000 a year, and this is for the appraiser's office.
The Land Records Fund comes from the recording of deeds as they're processed through the Register of Deeds office?
Yes, it comes through the Register of Deeds office, and then they actually manage the allocation of the funds within that.
Steve, do you want to speak on the item?
Thank you, Commissioner. Steve Bauman, County Appraiser. Yeah, you're exactly right. This is excess funds from the Register of Deeds Technology Fund. It's all funded through fees associated with recording deeds, no tax dollars. This was a part of our needed vehicle replacement program. I think I showed you all pictures a few years ago of our vehicles and their state they were in. Didn't have a lot of credibility driving up in vehicles that they questioned whether or not we were actually employed. But we now have all of the vehicles. This is going to be our second year doing it this lease way. It appears that it's saving us about half of the cost it would be if we were to purchase these vehicles outright.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
The next item is a couple items that we have that departments have submitted that they intend to fund with their own departmental general fund. Both of them come from the sheriff's office. The first one is for UPS batteries for $75,000 for 2022. And then the second item is ballistic vests that they have on a refresh cycle over several years. And those get replaced as the vests expire for the safety of the officers.
So, and again, just to clarify, their sheriff's office is wanting to fund this within their own budget.
Yes, with their own sheriff's departmental budget.
Okay. Now, as elected officials, once a budget is set for an elected official, they're able to allocate the funds in any way they see fit. So is this just more of a courtesy then?
This is just to stay in line with the county's CIP process, which is to report any expenditures over $50,000.
Okay. Any questions regarding the purchase of the UPS batteries or the ballistic vests?
What are the batteries for?
I see Under Sheriff Hubler here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Under Sheriff Hubler. First, let me apologize. Sheriff Hill had training that was already scheduled before our notification came on this, so he apologizes for not being here. The UPS batteries are for the tower sites, the radio towers, so that if we do lose power, that we don't lose power. Any more clarification needed?
That's fine.
And the ballistic vests are just part of a yearly refresh that you do, or annual refresh that you do for your vests as they expire?
The vests expire every 5 years, and through the collective bargaining agreement with the FOP, we also are required to replace those every 5 years.
Questions?
I'll move for acknowledgement on this.
I'll motion to acknowledge by Commissioner Rippon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Our next one.
This is the last specialty fund that we have before the big one. So this is the Parks and Recreation 3R fund. Some items are listed here just so you are aware. We tried to track from one year to the next items that moved. So there's a couple items that just say they're moved from cap outlay or moved to cap outlay. So this is just a couple of placekeepers, letting you know previously these were planned to be funded through the 3R fund, and now they're being requested to be funded through the cap outlay fund. But the 3R fund is money that is set aside for deferred maintenance and of the Parks and Rec equipment.
Jennifer, do you know approximately how much is in the Parks and Rec 3R fund?
I do not.
And I guess maybe a different way of saying the question is there more than $225,000 in the 3R fund in order to fund those projects?
Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. Yes, there's currently more than $225,000 in that fund. However, there is not, we have gone in and earmarked projects, so there's not an additional 225, but we wouldn't have enough to fund all of this with the existing funds, if that makes sense, without not doing other things.
So I guess then I think we would probably need to know how much is in your 3R fund so that we don't over extend it.
Yeah, I'll find out exactly here shortly, but I believe we are somewhere around just a little over $500,000 in that fund right now.
But unallocated?
No, that's our total amount. So if you give me a minute, I'll find that out.
Okay, I think that's one of the things that we need to know so that we don't overextend that fund if unallocated funds.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Did want to point out that each year we do, the Parks and Rec Department transfers $525,000 from the general fund into this fund each year.
Okay. So then they would then have the amount of $225,000 for 2022.
They would have at some point, yes. Or they will at the beginning of the year, and then it's just a matter of what they have planned to charge against that.
Okay. Commissioners, questions? Is there any questions regarding the 4 items that are listed for 2022?
No, I'll move to approve.
I do have a question on the roof repairs. Is this, how many, what are we looking at there?
Well, what we had put on there was $75,000 a year, and that's what we try to budget, and without knowing for sure what roofs will fail. But as you know, we have a lot of roofs. When you talk about all of our buildings, and even our pools all have pool houses, and all of our shelters, and so we've got a lot of roofs, so we think that's really a pretty conservative estimate of what we would spend annually to keep those in good shape.
But these aren't designated as right now for certain.
We do have a list, but no, I mean, that list has to be fluid. So we've tried that in the past to designate, these 5 projects and next year, but invariably, another one will fail. Something will happen that will cause that plan to go awry. But we do, yes, to answer your question, we do have a tentative idea of which ones we think will be first on that list. But I don't want to go in and replace a roof unless we feel like it's going to fail or it has to be replaced.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Our next fund, or I guess now we're moving into the big ones.
The big set of funds. This set is the capital outlay and the new debt or certificates of participation area. We added a column this year for other, which we are using for federal grants and like ARPA type items that are being requested to be funded from that area. Included on this line, just a couple, or in this tab, a couple of things. One of the items is from the 10GE area, the general expenses, and that is $100,000 that we request each year for small capital outlay items, because the CIP itself is designated to be over $50,000. We have many capital outlay projects that are under $50,000, and for some departments who have predominantly personnel costs, needing to make one item or one purchase of $10,000 would pretty much destroy their budget. Their budget wouldn't be able to handle that. So we have $100,000 that we request each year for our fall cycle of cap outlay, which is for the smaller items.
Okay. Jennifer, just if we were to tally up in under 2022,
Yes.
all of the capital outlay would be $7,012,920.
Just from the cap outlay fund, yes. If I was going to add all,
Well, but just looking at that,
Yes.
at that one fund,
yes.
and how much did we allocate last year into the cap outlay fund?
Last year, you guys went against the norm. You guys allocated $2.5 million on this year's flat budget that Betty has presented for the general budget. She presented it back at the standard $2 million.
Okay, so if we were to do what we would have done in the past outside of last year, we would be allocating $2 million.
Correct.
So there's going to be $5,012,920 that would be left unfunded.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to need to prioritize these projects.
Yes, we
So
do.
if we could go into the ones that are deemed as critical first.
Yes. Actually, the top one you guys took care of a couple weeks ago. It's still listed here because it was submitted as a capital outlay, so we removed it from the 2022 column, and that was the electronic poll books. So that leaves us with just one that's marked as critical, and that is the EOC mobile communications, which is kind of it was a group request from emergency management and the sheriff's office.
Questions regarding the EOC mobile communications, what they are, or their need? I'm going to move to allocate the $117,000 requested for that project. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that that's been approved then.
And I, just so you know, I have a second tab that's sitting here empty. So as you go down through it, we should have at the bottom, based on a $2 million allocation, have it tallying the bottom for you.
All right, thank you. So then let's go to the ones that are deemed as high.
The first one is the small item capital outlay that I discussed earlier for $100,000.
I would move that we put that on there.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Mays. Is there a second?
Excuse me, that was the courtroom?
No, I'm sorry, it's down in GE on your list. I have it
Oh,
up at the
okay.
top.
It's about
Yeah,
halfway
sorry.
down the page.
I see it. Okay. Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that as it being approved.
Now, the rest of them are in order. I apologize that when I pulled out of order for you. The next set are courtroom renovations. Room 304 and room 301 are the next two that are slotted to be in 2022.
Now, Jennifer, we had allocated in the 2020 discussions for courtrooms to be renovated in 2021 that we did not renovate in 2021 due to the pandemic. Are we going to be able to pick up, and the court administrator I see is the back of the courtroom, of the chambers, but are we going to be able to pick up the ones that we were going to do for 21 and do additional ones in 22? I don't know if the court administrator wants to talk about the projects.
Good morning, Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. Our hope is to be able to get back on track with KBS and Trina HL and get the 2 courtrooms that were funded for renovation in 2020 completed. Right now, we're kind of at an awkward situation where our cases are so backlogged due to the pandemic that to displace 2 courtrooms at the same time is going to be extremely difficult, let alone to try and add in new courtrooms. But these are all, as you've all visited our courtrooms, are in desperate need of some updating and renovations in terms of functionality and technology. It's just a matter of trying to find an appropriate time to kick our judges out of their courtrooms while we're trying to catch up on a backlog of cases.
Okay. So out of the the projects, we have 2 courtrooms, the gallery seating and podiums, and then those are the ones that are allocated for you in the 2022 budget.
Correct.
Okay. And then the courtroom gallery and seating, that was brought to our attention just from when we were taking seating out during the pandemic, and then we went to put it back. Not everything went back from its 19.
A lot of it fell apart when it was taken down, so it's not able to be put back in the courtrooms.
And these were seatings that had been around since the 1970s or
Yes.
80s.
Yes.
Okay. Questions regarding court projects?
It's my understanding that some of these renovations for courts might be eligible for ARPA funds. So, I mean, I'm not sure when we're going to get guidance from Widow O'Brien on that, but that's a possibility for some
Sure.
of these as well.
I'd be happy to defer.
Yes, that's a true statement. The Spark Committee met last week and has submitted a copy of the CIP plan to our consultant that you just passed the contract for. And they are reviewing these items to see what, if any of them, would qualify for the ARP money and in what category, because there's a couple different categories. There's the revenue replacement, and then there's also special categories that would, like judicial has another category where it wouldn't necessarily come out of the revenue replacement. They're reviewing that now, and the Spark Committee will be looking at that over the next few meetings, I'm sure.
Do we know when they would, I mean, approximately, if we're looking at doing a capital outlay for 2022 over Monday and Thursday, how do we approve, I mean,
Yeah, the final rule isn't even, well, the final rule, the deadline to apply for questions to the final rule just passed over the weekend. So we do not, the final rule hasn't been published yet. And so as soon as that's done, and I think the Spark Committee has every intention of tackling some of these CIP items as quickly as they can. But I think the cap outlay for, the budget for the cap outlay is needed in order to come up with the budget for the county, which is needed to come up for the, I mean, it's, everything relies on everything else. So we're kind of in a catch-22 on this.
so if we allocate $2 million for our capital outlay, and we have projects that are cut, and then we find out that projects that we had funded are approved, do we go back then and amend our capital outlay to pick up some of those
Yeah.
projects that have been cut?
Yep, I think there's no reason that we wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah.
Do we have a time limit of when we have to do that, or?
No, I think the only time limit is on the budget itself, but the capital improvement plan, the plan for the county comes prior, but it's just $1. It gives you a good approval to get to the dollar amount, and then if you want to come back and make an amendment to what you approved, I think we could do that through resolution.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. Since we're talking in generalities, let me give a little more information on this. Some of these projects, with the ARP money, there are certain buckets that you can pay out of. One of the buckets is lost revenue, which there's a lot more flexibility in that. There's also another bucket of judicial money. So the judicial money, we don't know exactly what the qualifications are yet because those regulations and that criteria has not come out. But we have a lot of flexibility in the money for the lost revenue, since courts are part of our government services. So, you know, there is the possibility, regardless of how this final rule comes out, if it's not eligible for judicial, the Spark Committee could look at it or evaluate it for the lost revenue piece. I don't know if that helps any. But, you know, the Spark Committee was kind of really waiting for this final rule, which are the regulations that the Treasury will come out with before we made too many decisions on how to spend this money. And that, as Jennifer said, you know, all the comments for the final rule had to be in by the 16th of July. So they will look at all of those, and we don't have a date when they will issue the final rule. But they continue to put out, to answer FAQs and that type of thing and give us a little bit of guidance, but we don't even know a date of when the final rule will be issued.
Okay.
So,
I guess my concern is if we have 2 courtrooms from 21 that we're looking to do, adding 2 additional courtrooms for 4 courtrooms is going to be a lot of congestion, plus any other renovations that occur to this building due to us leaving this building, creating a space for a jury coordinating room or a jury gathering room, which has been a long-standing request of the courts, or any other renovations that we would do as a result of departments leaving this building to go over to 707 Quincy.
now, we have already addressed that, and we will address that. We have talked to the consultant about that building, and he felt very confident that that building, the renovations for that, as well as the renovations for the courthouse, would fall within the qualifications for the ARPA money.
Now, is there a thought that the gallery seating and podiums would be seen differently by, as opposed to the actual renovations to the courtrooms themselves?
Well, a part of this is looking at the purpose of it. You know, this is just, if we're just replacing what was already there, that may not fall into certain categories as much as if your purpose, like one of the things we talked about with the new building and the renovations to the courthouse, is that is expanding space for judicial, for more social distancing for the judicial. So it's making a change. I'm sorry? Yeah, the audio-visual piece. So it's making a change. It may be looked at a little differently if it's just replacing what was already there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So in that respect, it may be most prudent to include the 175,000 for the seating, but hold off on doing the courtrooms until we know a little bit more about the use of the funds.
Right. And let me also say, we kind of talked about this before, but there again, in general terms, this plan, you're pretty much approving these projects for 2022. But with any plan, you have to make necessary changes as they come about. If we have different funding, we can always come back and say, okay, we freed up 500,000, for projects that we're going to use a different funding for, and we can make those changes. I think any plan needs to be fluid enough so that you use your money in the wisest way. So, and that's what, and especially when we're going out 5 years, this is an idea at this point in time. This is what we're projecting and what we're planning, but that doesn't mean it won't change or won't have to change as things come to light and different priorities come up. So. Did that help?
Push.
I hope that helped a little.
Well, I think we all recognize that these courtroom renovations need to happen, but there's a lot of unknowns right now. And if we're not even sure if they'll have, with the backlog, the ability to get them done at all anyways, I mean, I think we should probably put those back 1 year at least, or kind of put them on a backup list for if those ARPA funds become available.
But as to the courtroom seating and gallery podiums, and
Well, I guess I also want to just clarify on that. If we do end up renovating courtrooms, are they just going to rip this seating back out and then replace it again?
I think this is different than that, but here comes Lee.
The actual structure, sorry, Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. The actual structure of the courtrooms, aside from one courtroom on the 3rd floor, the floor plans of the courtrooms are not changing. So any seating, any public gallery seating that's put in those courtrooms would be able to be removed and put back in after the reconstruction of the bench and the technology additions.
Okay, thank you.
okay. I'd move to allocate the requested 175,000.
I'll second.
So, motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Just to clarify, that was the 175,280 that was listed, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Department of Corrections roofing request. There was a total request of $1,200,000, and then I believe last year we set aside half of that amount.
Yes, last year, the original request was actually 1.1 million. This year, they increased that to 1.2 million. I'm sure due to increasing costs. But yeah, the first half of the project has already been contracted out at least. And then the second half would be for the other half of the facility.
Brian, do you want to speak on, or Eve, speak on that project and whether or not it must continue or should continue?
Eve Kendall, Department of Corrections. We are replacing the roofing on the entire building of the main facility. Part of it is original to the building, which was in 97 is part of it. we broke it up into two groups because how big it is, the project and the amount of money it would cost. We had to increase it this year because of the amount of the funding, for the material and the shipping of the material. So we're hoping that it doesn't go up anymore, but our contractor is saying that if this is approved, that it should be within their working ability to make this happen. But who knows how long it takes to get something off a ship from somewhere to get it here and so on and so forth. So we are looking at, hopefully that they are starting the current JDC side and the newest edition this year, and then the rest of it would be next year with your approval.
Questions?
Nope. I'll move to add that on there.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays to add the $600,000 for 2022.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Approved. Jennifer, can you tally us down to the bottom to?
Oops. That uses almost half of the money, so there's $1,007,720 remaining.
Okay. Let's go back up then. I believe that our next item was Department of Corrections Annex Security.
Correct. This item, oops, sorry, I was looking over here to see if there's more information. This one originally was presented last year with $30,000 to come out of 21 money and $75,000 to come out of 2022 money.
Questions? I'll move for approval of that amount.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. We have approved I believe we're down to the Tranics.
Yes, there's actually one item there that's also 2022. I just want to draw your attention to it because it's over on the federal column, and that is for the building improvements and modification due to space planning. So that amount is what Betty was talking to earlier, that we believe that will qualify for ARPA money. And so I don't know if you want to approve that project or hold off.
I would hold off just
Okay.
until we get some more, because it's not coming directly out of our budgeted capital outlay.
Correct.
Okay.
So then the next item is the new Tanix hyper-converged infrastructure platform expansion at $150,000 per year.
And again, that was a prior allocation, so it's a yearly reoccurring cost.
Yes.
Questions? I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
This brings us down to Parks and Rec have an ADA transition plan implementation project that is slated for $500,000 per year.
Let's hold that for the moment, and let's go to the sheriff's items.
Okay. The first item listed there is, well, they have 4 items listed. The first one is to upfit and stripe new vehicles for $55,000 per year.
And that's part of a continuation of a prior,
That started last year. The cap outlay paid for $45,000 of the upfitting and striping of some new vehicles that were purchased.
okay. And then their second request was for the training complex changes to that facility?
Yes, at $200,000.
The training complex, is that a renovation?
That's the internet upgrades.
Good morning again, Under Sheriff Hubler. This request is for information and technology upgrades at the training complex. The connectivity at the training complex is poor at best.
Okay.
And as we continue to do more and more training out there, and other places, other entities use it for training, being able to get that online connectivity is critical. And this is a move to hopefully get that upgrade done. It's been needed for years.
Under Sheriff, have you worked with our IT department at all to come up with costs?
Yes, work directly with IT, more specifically, Mark Price. And we've been trying to figure out the best solution over the course of time and just trying to get connectivity out there. It's as things have gotten better, the cellular connectivity has gotten better since we built the facility, and just trying to find the best option and least expensive at the same time.
Mark.
Mark Price, Information Technology. Initially, when we had discussed this, we had looked at trying to get fiber out there, but that's probably the most expensive cost. We have been evaluating some wireless point-to-point connections and also possibly more true cellular backbone to accomplish the connectivity, so they are working more like they're at the sheriff's office or connected to the county directly.
Okay, and you think 200,000 is a pretty reasonable for which technology?
That would probably be more along the lines of a wireless technology. I'm not sure we'd be able to get the fiber out there for that cost. We'd have to talk to some vendors and see what our options are. There is a path that gets us close to that. There's some existing fiber other entities already have that we possibly could partner with, but we just have to discuss with them and see what our options are for collaborating with other individuals or entities to get an actual fiber connection down there.
Under Sheriff, I mean, I know that the training range is there. Outside of the training range, the training that's done at the law enforcement, I mean, are you doing classes? I mean, is it field work? I mean, I would assume that most of your field work is done at the law enforcement center.
Actually, almost all of our training is done at the training complex. All of our in-service, our officers are required to get 40 years of annual in-service, and we do the most of that training at the training complex.
How much of that is using the internet, or is it in-person presentations?
It is in-person presentations, but most presenters have a need to reach out to the internet for their presentations. So it's pretty much required to have a decent amount of connectivity out there.
And a mobile hotspot isn't going to be sufficient for that?
It's what we've been using up until this point. It's barely adequate, to say the least.
Okay. Questions, thoughts?
Let's go on to the next item.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the replacements of the Tahoes?
Before you go on, I just want to tell you that is one of the that last item would be one of the items that I'm interested to see whether or not would qualify for the ARPA money because of the IT and the remote access component of it kind of leaves it open to that. So we'll see what the consultant says.
Okay.
So your next item was the replacement of non-Tahoes.
The replacement of non-Tahoes, it is for police vehicles. The Tahoes have typically been the most expensive to replace, and while manufacturers have been becoming more and more creative in what they have available to us, we do go with the least expensive. Best bid that will actually fit the needs of our officers, especially in the urban and rural settings that we have. So We drive over 1.8 million miles a year, and these vehicles are expected to respond in emergency situations. So we try and keep our miles at a very conservative piece before we move them out to non-first responder.
Okay. Questions? And then finally, the same with the lease, which is the last item, just kind of picking that up.
Okay. As we've spoke with the commission for several times over the years and trying to find a better way to be better stewards of the county's money and to find the least expensive way for us to move forward, but continue to provide the service that the public expects. We have been able to work with Enterprise, and for vehicles that aren't primarily emergent response vehicles, our staff vehicles, some of our investigators, those types of vehicles, we are looking at the option of leasing some vehicles to try and keep our costs down, but still keep our fleet refreshed.
Questions?
No, I think that, honestly, the lease, I think, is such a good idea. I'll move for that to go on there right now.
Motion to approve the $75,000. Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. As to the remaining three items, the upfit and stripe of new vehicles and the replacement of the vehicles.
I have one question on that. Last year we did 45, this year it's 55. Why the increase? Did something change?
Just the cost of vehicles and the cost of the equipment.
Okay.
Questions?
No, I'll move for approval on that.
So motion to approve the $55,000 under upfit and striping new vehicles. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner May, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. That then leaves us with those training complex, which may qualify for ARPA money, as well as the new vehicles requested.
I think the training complex upgrades need to happen, but I don't see how they would not be eligible for the ARPA funds. I mean,
And
for
again, if you-
distance learning and whatnot.
If you want to approve the project, knowing that you would want to pay for it one way or the other, and then we will, just because it's approved here doesn't mean that we will not seek ARPA funding for any item that was approved, and then we could make an amendment at that time.
I guess it just gets confusing when you're trying to prioritize the, once we move out of the high into normal, and most of the money has already been allocated by the time we get to normal.
Yep.
And so I would prefer, my preference would be to leave the internet off for the training center until some later time.
I agree. I think my preference would be to, keep a running tally of projects that we have a high confidence that they'll be approved for the ARPA funding, and leave those off of here for now, because again, my fear is that if we put something down here, it takes away from something else.
Right. Yep.
And then we're back here, trying to do this whole process again, so.
So then, let's talk about the vehicles. As far as the vehicle goes, in years past, the vehicle's replacement was funded through the sheriff's general budget.
Yes.
And we have not reduced the sheriff's general budget for vehicles. So is this a double win for the sheriff's office?
Well, I'm not liking that I'm presenting.
I'm just, again, I don't know a better way of saying it, but I hope that.
Yeah.
I think I can answer that. I've been here a day or two. And most of the time, we haven't requested, well, it may have been paid out of the sheriff's general budget, the sheriff's office general budget. They weren't necessarily budgeted for. That was cost savings through lack of hiring, not buying other items, that we've been able to fund those vehicle purchases over the course of time. Sheriff Hill is committed to being more proactive in his policing, to reducing crime in Topeka and Shawnee County. And to do that, it's going to require some money. We're trying to maintain a full staff of law enforcement officers. That hasn't been done for years. And with that comes increased expenses, and we're not able to maintain full staff and continue to keep our fleet at the refreshed rate that it needs to be.
I guess my concern was this just in essence becomes an additional $400,000 that's added to the sheriff's budget from what's already existing. And so, I mean, there's not a request to reduce the sheriff's budget by $400,000 under the general budget as part of the capital outlay, right?
That is correct.
I believe I can answer the question as far as a flat budget. I believe the way that the flat budget has been calculated in the past is the amount that was previously budgeted for anything in MSA 3 and 2, which would include vehicles, would have been carried forward from the prior year onto the next year. So yeah, there would have been no decreases in the MSA 2 or 3 over the last several years.
Just an additional comment, and I was trying to find it, and I don't have it. I believe was last year was the first year we funded cars out of, sheriff's cars out of the capital outlay, so I think last year was the first year, and I believe it was 300,000, is that right? I believe it was around 300,000, I think, and we did not decrease their budget by that amount for last year. So, you know, our starting budget this year will be what their budget was last year. So last year was the year they kind of got their vehicles were paid out of the capital outlay, and they did not have a decrease in their budget. So, and this is, I believe, higher than what you funded for them last year. I don't remember what their request or their ask was, but I believe it was 300,000 last year that you funded.
Commissioners, is there a position on the vehicles? Do you want to take action now? Do you wish to hold it until we hear more of the normal?
Let's hold until we hear more of the normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we need to go back to Parks and Rec for the ADA?
Yeah. Before we leave the high, can we go back to the ADA transition plan?
Yes.
Yes. Tim Laurent.
Tim, the $500,000 that's requested, we just commissioned the study. Is it premature to allocate that amount?
It's an estimate, for sure, yeah. I think it's an estimate of what we will need, but I think it's pretty much a given that it's going to be more than $500,000 when we're said and done. So we put $500,000 a year, knowing that this is going to be probably a several $million project before it's all said and done.
I guess my concern is we just approved to go out for an ADA compliance study.
Right.
And from the ADA compliance study, we would have a prioritization of which projects are at the highest and maybe even know some budgets for them. And I guess, is this putting the cart before the horse and tying up $500,000 that we're not sure where that would go?
Well, my goal and my hope would be that we would have that ADA study completed by the end of the year, and we would know going into next year what the priority was. And from my thought, $500,000 won't cover that, so that would just be a way to get us started.
Questions?
Well, Tim, I look at the improvements that we do with our parks currently. Today, we just did bleachers, we did bathrooms. it seems like we're upgrading ADA accessibility as we go right now. Are we going to, if we were to allocate this, are we just accelerating the process of something that we would already be doing?
Yes, I think that's fair.
Okay.
That's a fair assessment.
For this first year, if all we're doing is the study, I don't know that we need 500,000 for the study. I mean, that would go a long ways to.
Well, no, the study's already been funded and paid
Yeah.
for.
Okay.
We're doing the study this year
So this is just for the upgrades,
to start the implementation process.
and yet we don't know any of those numbers yet.
Correct.
I'm hesitant to allocate this right now because I think I'd like to see the results of the study, and I think that when we do some of our other improvements with the 3R and things, perhaps we prioritize a little bit differently based on the results of the study rather than, putting a separate line item.
And there may be money available. There are Recovery Act funds for this, I would think.
Would that be?
So then it would be, then you do not wish to take any action at this time for the
Not at
500?
this time.
No.
If there are ARPA funds, then that'd be great. I'm not sure how that would fit, though.
Yeah. Deferred maintenance is eligible under a separate category, but depending on if deferred maintenance wasn't the route that you would go, I think you would also be able to fall under the revenue replacement for this because there is more latitude to the expenditures that you can make under that.
Okay.
So there's possibility there.
Yeah, so I think it'd be prudent to leave this off for now.
Okay. All right. Let's move on then to the next, which are normal.
Yes. So the first two items are DOC items. The first is boiler replacement for $90,000, and I don't remember what site that was at. I'm sorry. Which site that was at? Yeah.
It's probably a total.
Okay.
The prices
Yep.
cover the sizes of the units.
There you go. Thanks.
Eve Kendall, Department of Corrections. We have the boilers on here because we have an aging system. We have 7 boilers that need to be, that are reaching life expectancy in the next 5 years. So we've put this on our plan to hopefully replace them before they fail. We are hoping to replace 3 in 2022, and then 2 in 23, and 1 in 24, and 1 in 25. And the pricing there is reflective of the boilers themselves. At the current bid, I don't know what it'll be once we get it in front of you in 23. But it will be close to the $90,000.
Questions? I would move to approve the request of the $90,000.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0.
The next item is also DOC, and that is for the security system upgrade.
Before we move on, Jennifer?
Yes?
Could we get the running tally right now of where we're at?
Yes. We are at $1,437,280, which leaves $562,720.
So, 562,000. There's a lot of other items yet to go. And we did not address the vehicles for the sheriff once and for all. So do we need to go back to that and then get a better idea? I don't want to go through in order here and just run out of money without addressing the latter half.
Well, my thought is on the vehicles, we may look at, again, we can always come back to the capital outlay. It would not be a final amount until the final budget is approved.
Sure.
So we can always come back to it, and then we may address some of the vehicles and when we do the budget discussions as a whole for the sheriff, too. When we get to the budget discussion on August the 26th.
Okay.
I do think it's important, though, that through the CIP discussions, today and Thursday, that you do come up with a total amount that you want budgeted for this. And not wait until we go through the budget discussions. I think it's important that we take it, and that doesn't mean you can't change your mind, but I would like, if possible, that you set an amount, whether it's 2 million, 2.5 million, whatever, but you set an amount for the CIP that you would like budgeted.
In that respect, I mean, my preference would be to go back to our $2 million allocation that we had previously done. Work from that amount.
I've sort of been operating under the assumption that that's what we were doing, so.
Then, I mean, if you, Betty, would you want that then as a motion that the CIP be set or the capital outlay be set at $2 million?
I think you will.
We'll get there eventually.
Mhm.
I think you will do that when you approve the CIP. When you approve the CIP amount, whether it's 2 million or whatever it is. I just got the impression you were looking at waiting until we got to the budget discussion to set that amount.
No.
Okay.
No, but it could be amended or it could be changed between now and August the 23rd or 26th.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it can be.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
We were at courthouse, or the DOC security.
security system upgrade for $70,000.
Is there questions or motion?
Well, I see that this is a recurring annual expense. I mean, are we planning to spend $70,000 a year indefinitely?
Eve Kendall, Department of Corrections. Sir, our security system is huge, to say the least. We have over 700 cameras, 10 servers, and then all the door controls and everything that is incorporated into the computer system itself that makes everything work together. Our last major upgrade was in 2013, so everything is starting to age out. We've tried our best to replace as needed, but time is wearing and tearing on our equipment, so this is our attempt at trying to create some type of a fund that we can replace things a little bit easier. I know that we have 3 servers that we need to replace. That's going to take a little bit of money. It won't take the 70, but we are starting to lose cameras also on a somewhat regular basis just because of the age. So this is our attempt at trying to keep our system fresh and vital to make sure that we maintain the safety that we need for our community.
And you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you use the same system as what we use here at the courthouse, or?
We use the same cameras. We do not use the same security as far as the computer side of things. We actually use a different company for that.
And do you have an estimate on what it would cost to replace the entire system?
Ooh. 4 million? 4 million is what I'm getting from the audience here.
Okay, so the 70,000 a year replaces how much then? I mean, is that, I mean, at $4 million, it's not going to replace much, is what it sounds like.
Correct. This is still going to, hopefully, I don't want to say Band-Aid some of it, but it will make sure that we are running a system that we can be confident in as we continue to replace.
And how do you prioritize what gets replaced? Is it based on, are there cameras that are failing and we replace them as they fail, or are there high priority cameras that maybe get a little better view of things that we replace first, or?
Well, what we've done so far is what's been failing is what's been being replaced. We have either they're aging out and they're not supported anymore, or they are actually failing and we have to replace them. We are also replacing servers because they are not, because all the cameras that we have, as we replace the cameras, they take more memory. And so we need larger servers to hold the memory that we maintain. We also are replacing door controls as far as, and microphone systems and intercom systems for each of our cells. It has an intercom system that goes to our control center. So in case there's not an officer around, the inmate can hit the control and it'll go to our control system so that if they need assistance for some type of emergency. That's a lot of wiring and a lot of speakers and different things like that that also cost money. So we have a big system. I don't think a lot of people understand how big it is and how complex it is. And we are trying to do our best here.
I would just remind you also that each year we have so much that we budget for contingency items. So if there is a item that comes up, you know, whether it's security or anything else, but it's an emergency repair or something like that, we also have that.
Well, except for this year, we have gone
This
through
year.
the contingency fund almost entirely before the end of the half mark.
Yes, because we reduced it in half, yes. And we did have at least one unusual item due to COVID-related.
Is this another one that would possibly be covered by the recovery money?
It possibly might be. I know, that's really,
Possibly might
that
be.
maybe.
Don't know.
That's a big maybe, but
Yeah.
I would think it certainly
think-
could be listed under the, you know, law enforcement area. Or the tech, yes, either one. And I might suggest, just as a general suggestion to you, as you see, we have gone through the critical and the high priority. We have a lot of items under the normal category, and these are listed just alphabetically by department. So I might suggest that you as commissioners just kind of look at them and bring up specific ones that you think, you know, you want to discuss. Otherwise, I'm afraid the departments that have the you know, that are down at the end of the alphabet might not get attention that you would want them to.
Betty, as we've been moving through the process, obviously we identified the critical first,
Right,
then moving to high, and then getting into our normal.
right.
We've had the reoccurring discussion about ARPA money may be allocated, may not be allocated, but we won't know for weeks
Yes.
before we know whether or not what will apply and what won't.
Well, and not only what will apply, but also what the Spark Committee will go through their vetting process and their evaluation process, and then what they would bring to the commission as a recommendation.
I mean, we're almost getting to a point where my preference would be just to set the capital outlay at $2 million, leaving the individual projects remaining unallocated until we know further guidance, and then revisit it before the end of the year so that we can move forward. And I hate to have everybody's time wasted sitting here, but until we have further guidance on what applies and what won't, it's kind of throwing a dart at the wall just to see what might hit. And so, I mean, if I allocate $600,000 to Department of Corrections and it winds up being covered by ARPA, I'm now going to go back to the Health Department to see what projects were unfunded, to see about maybe that $600,000 can now be applied to some of their projects.
Which would be a good problem to have, but.
I'm asking Betty in front of everybody. So would it be helpful to the committee to know what the commissioner's preference for those projects would be? So that even though the committee would know which lane it would fall in as far as the different categories of money, but if there were specific items that the commission would want to prioritize for the county, I think that would be helpful to the committee to know that these 20 projects, if available to be funded under the breakdown of the funding, would be preferred by the commission.
Well, I think I would rather have it that the commission would ask the Spark Committee to look at comments. You know, I don't think you want to put any pressure on the Spark Committee, because you created a separate committee for that purpose, so that there is some, you know, independence there from the committee and the commission. So I think you could ask the Spark Committee to review certain items, as long as there was not an expectation that your items would necessarily have, you know, preferential treatment, that it would still be under the Spark Committee to make a recommendation to you.
But at this point, as we stand on July the 19th, we don't even know what may qualify or what may not. We have some rough ideas, but as to
Right.
what projects may fall under ARPA, we don't have much guidance.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
can make a comment real quick. I just want to clarify that the Spark Committee is a staff committee internally. It will be making recommendations only. All decisions regarding how all public funding will be spent from whatever source, whether it's ARPA, through the normal budgeting process or whatever, those decisions will be made here by these three in an open public meeting. All records of the information that will be used as the basis for those decisions will be public record. So I just want to say that for anyone who may be listening. I don't want anyone in the public to have the impression that all of these decisions are going to be made by a separate committee that's not going to be in agreement with what you three do. That committee's purpose is to gather the information, gather what's available and possible, and then submit it to you three for final action. That's a piece of this overall process.
Yeah. And Commissioner Cook, back to your comments, it is hard right now, because we don't know what the criteria will be, what categories things might fall in. Generally, the reason that we set up this process in the manner it is, that you would, you know, set the CIP first, was so that we did know how much to budget for the CIPs. If you wanted to set a set amount and set aside, you know, approve an amount that then we would put into the budget, and then with the, I don't know, with a motion that we would reconsider these by a certain date. We would certainly want to do it by the end of the year, but we would come back and reconsider allocating the $2 million or whatever it is you set for the projects at that time. I would assume that could be done.
Do you believe that it would be possible that the Witt O'Brien's and ARPA, we would have guidance before October?
I would hope we would have guidance by then, yes. And then the committee would want some time to go through and make our recommendations that, as Jim said, would then come to you for the decisions. It would just be our recommendations.
Commissioners, if we were to allocate, or if we were to approve $2 million for capital outlay, and then defer any specific allocation until October the 18th, we may be in a better position.
Could we do it the end of October?
Sure, October the 25th?
That's fine. I was just thinking if you gave us through the end of October, then we could come to you in early November. Would that? Yeah, and because we usually come about that time for the small items anyway.
November the 1st?
Yeah. Would that?
We would still have $2 million allocated. We would know,
Yes.
then have better guidance. We would have better prioritization for what projects fall in which category, whether it's capital outlay, new debt, or other.
We're kind of shooting in the dark till we know what some of these
Right.
somebody's.
So do you want to, sorry, I was going to ask, do you want to say that the 1.4 or just leave it 2 million?
My motion, or I'll make a motion just
Yep.
for clarity. At this time, I would move that we allocate $2 million for capital outlay for 2022, with the capital outlay items to be reviewed and discussed for final approval on November the 1st.
I'd also recommend that you approve all of the other funds that you had talked about before. You kind of approved them as we went, so I didn't know if that was
I will do that
a
separate.
hard approval on those, or?
I will do that separately, but let's
Okay,
just
okay.
doing the capital outlay.
I hesitate to say that, to do that just yet.
Okay.
Simply because, I mean, look at the number right now. It's 1,437, 280.
Well, but how
So-
much of that may wind up being qualified for ARPA, and that number may be 1 instead of 1.4?
What I'm saying is that by saying just 2 million even, I think that we're maybe putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit and not just waiting until we figure out what we want to do. And let's just go with 2 million as a guideline, but if it ends up being 2,280,000, then we're going to have to amend your motion.
Well, we
or-
wouldn't be able to do it anyway because our budget would be set.
Yeah, the budget will be, whatever you say, I'm the person to agree with the budget to, so,
Okay.
yeah, once you set you have to do that, so they know what to put into your budget that you give to me.
We allocated $2.5 million last year for capital outlay. If we allocate $2 million, and again, the 2 million knows that we will address the high and the critical.
Okay.
So,
And then we'd come back when, November what?
November the 1st. Okay, and that's a motion made for $2 million to capital outlay with the individual amount or projects to be reviewed and decided on November the 1st of 2021.
Once again, what was our capital last year?
2.5 million.
So we took $500,000 from contingency last year.
Okay. I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Passes 3-0. As to the separate funds that were previously made motion and approved by the commission, I will move to approve the fund request made by the Solid Waste Fund, Public Works Fund, Sherwood Wastewater District Fund, Noxious Weed Equipment Fund, Land Records Fund, and general fund budgets and Parks and Recreation Fund that have been previously moved and approved by the County Commission, so those would be finalized. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made for final approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon.
Sorry, just one question. Do you want him to give you a total dollar amount in that room? Would you like him to give you a total dollar amount on that, of that, with what they're requesting approved?
I don't think so. I don't have a total added up for those.
Well, she does, right there. Her.
Oh, you mean, you want to
I just mean, what they've
On these
already
funds.
approved.
Kevin, I got one.
So you
Would you
wanna-
like that 1 million, whatever it is, 1,200,000, whatever
Oh,
you
no,
had on
that
the.
is not approved anymore. The 1,000,004, we start from scratch.
Correct.
Correct.
In
Okay,
November
so
1.
it's- Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Is that
That's
was my
correct.
understanding?
Okay.
Correct.
Oh, so these are the other funding for sources?
Yes.
Okay.
Before we approve this, I have a question. Tim, Laurent, could you come up for just a second? On the capital outlay, you have $75,000 for the Ruger Park retaining wall. Why isn't that under the 3R fund?
It could be, like can be. As a matter of fact, if it's not approved this year, we're gonna pay for it out of 3R fund. It's been on this for several years.
It just seems like that's a better fit, to me at least. So, I mean, would it be, should we move that there, or?
Could that be an additional, you'd be adding an additional, or you would take it out of the 225?
I think it'd be adding additional. I mean, it sounds like you've got
500,000.
You've got more money than
Yeah.
what's allocated here.
Excuse
so.
me, which line was that?
The Ruger Park retaining wall for $75,000. No, item 62.
I see it.
But I would move that to the Parks and Recreation Fund for 22.
Okay. How about we do this, just for clarity? Can we let my motion die for a lack of a second? So noted.
Okay.
Then let's go. Then
You
let's
could
go
just
back-
withdraw your
then
motion.
let's go back to the Parks and Rec Fund,
Yes.
where we have allocated 225,000. You're asking to add 75,000 to that for the River Park retaining wall,
Ruger, yeah.
Ruger Park retaining wall. That would then
Rieger.
increase that to 300,000 for the Parks and Recreation Fund. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you then making a motion to approve the Parks and Recreation Fund at 300,000?
That is my motion.
Is there a second for discussion?
What we approve here, when we approve the capital outlay, will that approve every line item all the way out to 2026? At
No.
what point can we move those things
We're
around?
we're just approving 22.
That's it?
Yes.
All right. Good with that.
I'll second the request. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Then we have approved the Parks and Recreation Fund for 300,000. Now, going back to my motion, then to approve all the funds.
I would second that.
Okay. And those being, again, for the sake of the clarity of the clerk, Solid Waste Fund, Public Works Fund, Sherwood Wastewater District Fund, Noxious Weed Equipment Fund, Land Records Fund, General Fund Budget, which are the two items for the sheriff, and the Parks and Recreation Fund that was just approved. The motion made. Second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it's passed 3-0. Thank you all for attending. I'm sorry if we've had you pulled away from more prioritized projects, but unfortunately, until we have further guidance regarding ARPA funds or other resources, it's hard to make those allocations without knowing where those will go. Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There's not a need for an executive session today, so we are adjourned.
Chris, did you say that was boring? Oh, I'm sorry.